Hello, everyone. My name is Brad Jenkins. I'm the general manager and advisor at the Breeze at James Madison University, and I've assembled a group of students from student media at JMU to talk today a little bit about what their experiences are working on student media, especially for those of you who maybe high school juniors or seniors who are looking at colleges. As you think about maybe going and working for a student media group, they are going to give you some of their experiences and talk to you a little bit about just what it's been like to do that. So I'm going to go around the I was going to say the room, but it's not a room. Our virtual room. We're going to go around our virtual room and have everybody introduce themselves, and we'll start up in my upper right with Caitlin Waltmeyer.
Awesome. Well, hi. My name's Caitlin Waltmeyer. I am the editor-in-chief of The Breeze, and I deal specifically with the content management side of things.
What's the breeze for those who might not know?
Yeah, so The Breeze is basically this JMU student newspaper. So it's all student-led and all student-run. So yeah.
All right, and then below you, we've got Shelby Walker.
Hi, I'm Shelby Walker, and I'm the news director for Breeze TV, and Breeze TV is the student-run newscast at JMU
And you all have a newscast how often?
every Friday.
Every Friday live on Facebook. So if you want to take a look at that, you can do that. And then over to the left is Alexa Fitzpatrick.
Hi, I'm Alexa Fitzpatrick. I'm the managing editor of The Breeze, and I basically deal with social media and digital media.
And then we have Ivan Jackson.
What's up, everybody? My name is Ivan. I'm executive editor of The Breeze. So what I do, I work with Caitlin. She kind of runs the show, but I help her out with the organizational direction of the organization, kind of modernizing and bringing us into a digital world, especially in COVID, and also helping out Shelby and bringing together our broadcast and print and online, bringing all that kind of stuff together to really make us a modern organization for the 20th century, 21st century.
So all of these students that you're going to hear from today have worked their way up in our student media groups. We find that's often the way as a lot of students come in. They start as reporters, they work their way up. We really do like to give students more and more opportunities as they go along because that's kind of the point of us being there is to learn and to teach and to grow. And so I'm curious if any of you want to talk about your first time coming into the office or kind of how you got involved. That can be a little intimidating. I wonder if anybody want to talk about that. Caitlin, you're kind of laughing a little bit. Do you remember?
Yes. Oh my goodness. So, well, before he even came to JMU, this is back when I was in high school and I was touring schools. I was I'm born and raised in Virginia. I knew I wanted to go to a school inside of Virginia. Partly because tuition is just insane now. But I knew there were several great options in the state. And I was a yearbook nerd in high school, and so I knew that kind of inspired me to get into the journalism and media and communications field. And so when I was touring colleges, I would always ask the tour guide at some points during the tour, can you tell me about like the yearbook, the newspaper, student media, like whatever, right? And I toured several schools, and JMU was the first one that was actually able to like give me an answer and like point me in the direction of the student media. I mean, I can't tell you how many like uhs and I don't know who you should talk to I got before coming to JMU. And when I came to JMU, this student who was leading this tour like gave me his cell phone number and was like text me like I want to show you the Breeze TV studio, like it's so cool, you have to see it, blah blah blah. And like just being able to like be welcomed in such a way like as like a high schooler was just like mind blowing to me. So like I knew even before I came to JMU that I wanted to be a part of the Breeze. And so finally when Student Org Night came about, like I just like ran to the Breeze booth and I knew I wanted to be in the news section. And so I started writing and participating, and eventually I sat down with my editors and I talked about applying to be news editor, and yeah, I held that position for 2 years, and now I'm editor. So
That's great. So Shelby, tell me a little bit about the process of getting involved with Breeze TV. So, the Breeze has print, online, and a TV broadcast. So I'm curious to hear about that aspect. How did you get involved, and what was that like?
So I actually changed my major to SMAD at the end of my freshman year. And so I contacted my advisor and I asked him what are things I can get involved in now while I wait until the next year so I can apply for SMAD. And so he told me about Breeze TV. And so I asked the news director at the time if I could come and just watch the show. He said, "Come on." And so I went and he showed me around the studio and all like downstairs, the lab, the equipment and all that stuff. And I just like couldn't wait for the whole summer till I could come back again. And so we have reporter meetings that I went to the first day of class when school started again when I was a sophomore. And so it's just from then on, I just kept going.
I love two things you said there that I think we could mention to the high schoolers who are watching. And that's first, like you're part of a university where you have to apply to be part of your journalism program. Don't wait, start getting involved with student media right away, because student media, you don't usually have to apply for that. We're looking for anybody who wants to come get experience, and you can start getting experience before you get into your program. And the other thing is just show up. Like, I know it can be a little intimidating to walk into that office where everybody might be sitting and working on whatever they're working on. But if you just show up, don't worry. Other student journalists are really nice people. We're not big hairy monsters who are going to run you out of the building. Likely, they'll be so happy to see you and to get your help. Alexa, can you tell us maybe a little bit of something that, like a highlight of working on the Breeze? You've done video work, and now you're going to be the managing editor. What's kind of been a highlight for you of your work?
A highlight for me would definitely be getting to tell stories. I really love getting like the human angle of stories, and I've got to like have so many really awesome experiences. The first story I ever produced was on exotic pets at JMU. So I got to go to a bunch of people's houses and like look at their weird pets and like document it with the camera. It was such a fun story. So I think that's probably one of the best things, is getting to do that.
Yeah, the thing I love about student media is that you really do get to experience a ton of things. If you're into sports, you can cover sports. If you're into arts and entertainment, you get to cover it or take pictures of it or do videos or do whatever. If you love news or politics, you can get involved in that. So Ivan, what about you? What's a highlight for you of your time working for student media?
Well, highlight for me. So first thing, a little bit about me. I kind of come from a different background. I never really in high school I wasn't in journalism in high school. So if anybody out there feels kind of lost and doesn't even know why you're watching this right now, I was definitely in the boat. So I wasn't a media arts major. Well, I was for a little while, but I'm a college of business major, and I was really into kind of more digital stuff with video and that kind of thing. The most important thing for me about journalism is that there's a place for everything. Journalism is evolving so rapidly. It's not just writing anymore or podcasts. There's programming and web development and all that kind of stuff and social media. So I guess that was kind of, my highlight was doing social media last year, what Alexa's doing now. I'm kind of trying to, when you have an organization with so many talented people, they produce so much good content, and it's how do you get as many people as possible to see that content, which is where I think social media is awesome and really important aspect of journalism.
Yeah, so Ivan's a good example that you don't have to be a journalism major to work in student media. In fact, we have all sorts of majors that work in student media. Most of them are journalism majors, but we've got all sorts of majors that work in student media. Caitlin, what about you? You've worked in news, so you've seen a lot of breaking news, a lot of exciting stuff happen over the years. Tell me what you have experienced. What's been a highlight for you?
So, yeah, I would say, I mean, it's just been so eye-opening just from the very beginning. I remember as a freshman, I had just started, it was fall semester, like September, October-ish, and I was working on this story, and it was supposed to go in print, and it fell through because sources weren't getting back to me. And I just picked up another story and got like 3 interviews in one day. And it was also the day that we had like our news section meeting, and like I had run all over campus that day, like talking to so many people, like directors of departments and all kinds of stuff about like the history of underage drinking at JMU, and how they used to serve beer in the Madison Grill. And fun fact, the news editors were like so impressed with my initiative that evening when we had our section meeting. The then editor in chief, he came to that meeting, and I didn't know it at the time, but I found out later that the news editors told him to be at that meeting to meet me. And so just reiterating on the fact that, like what Brad said earlier about just like showing up, that is so important. Showing up is basically like the biggest thing you can do to help yourself out as a journalist. Beyond that, I mean, last year I went and covered the Second Amendment rally in Richmond, which was obvious. It's happened before, but it was very charged last year just because of everything going on, political climate with guns in general. And right when we showed up, Alex Jones is marching down the street in his gigantic tank. And like I wouldn't have been able to do all of that stuff and cover that event without the breeze. And yeah, I mean, I can go on and on about my experiences, but yeah, just biggest piece of advice I can give is just showing up, because that's the biggest thing you can do to help yourself out and get exposed to opportunities like that.
Yeah, that's so true. The more you show up, the more you show initiative, the more people notice that, and the more they bring you in to kind of the leadership circles and trust you, and you move up. Shelby, what about you? What's a highlight working on Breeze TV?
I would say getting to meet and interview Daniel Franzese. He played Damien in Mean Girls. So he came last year to do a comedy show. And I remember somebody pitched the story, and we were about to leave, and no one had taken it. And I wasn't going out and doing stories on my own yet. And so I asked John Kelly, who was the previous news director before me, if he could go with me to interview him. And I didn't even know if we'd be able to get to interview him. So I was like, trying to find out how to do it. And so I just messaged him on Instagram, and he responded within like 5 minutes. And so when he came after the show, I got to interview him, and that was really cool.
That's great. So working on student media is obviously fun. There's a lot of great stuff. I'm curious if y'all can talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you face. I know one of them is balancing schoolwork and your journalism work. That's probably the biggest one, but what are some others, Caitlin?
Oh, I mean, I think balancing the school and journalism is definitely the hardest. Um, but some other ones, I would say, um, because at the Breeze we are all very close, and we're all friends. Like we'll all hang out like outside of Breeze meetings, like go to Benny's, stuff like that. And like we all have relationships with each other outside of the office. So sometimes, and personally, like with my experience being on the editorial staff, it has been hard separating friendships from coworkers and friendships from bosses, and vice versa with other people as well. And so that was obviously like a challenge for me at first. And um I would say just you just have to, sometimes when it comes to those hard decisions, you have to put the Breeze cap on and take the French cap off and say, like, what is the best decision? um another thing that is challenging, and I think it's very important for people to learn, is that you're not always um going to work with people who share your same ideas. So at first, when I started working at the Breeze, I was like, whoa, like my co-editor at the time, like him and I were like complete opposites, right? And that was the first time I really worked with someone like totally different than me. And at first, I was just kind of like shell shocked, like whoa, like I didn't I didn't know like some of his ideas he was bringing to the table. Like I didn't know that was the thing. Like I didn't know like we could approach stuff that way. And it was challenging at first to kind of adjust to that. But in the big picture, like the long run, it's definitely allowed me to grow as a leader and as a journalist and even just as a coworker when it comes to listening to other people's ideas and working with people who have different approaches to topics and issues than I do. So, yeah.
You know, one of the things we talk about often is that student media doesn't just prepare you for journalism, but it does prepare you kind of for post-college life in general, like how you're going to work in different things. Shelby, at Breeze TV, and I mean, all of our organizations face deadlines, but probably with Breeze TV, that deadline of going on air and having those countdown clocks and things like that, I'm sure deadlines can be kind of a challenge for you all in particular.
Yeah, there are times that the show starts at 3 and I'm in the production room at like 2:55 trying to make sure everything is ready to go. And so with that, I would just say is to like hold yourself accountable, and that's a great way to help be on time and get your stuff in on time. And it's hard to always do that, especially with news because things are changing all the time. But if you can just hold yourself accountable knowing that your story that you finished on Wednesday is in the program and ready to go, just make sure that you are ready for yourself and then that you're willing to help everyone else helps us get better at time management.
Well, I'll end our time by asking any of you the question that I always teach my journalism students to ask. Is there anything I left out? That's a great question, by the way. I give that to you all free out there, you high school students. A great question as far as when you're reporting. Is there anything I left out? Any of you have anything that I left out?
We have lunch on Wednesdays.
Yeah, so if you don't want to come for the journalism, if you don't want to come for the experience, if you don't want to come for the fun, come for the food because journalists eat, well, we eat okay, I guess. Anything else I left out, Caitlin? Beyond the food?
Beyond the food, yes. I've realized just working with so many different people, that a very common thread, or like with everyone across the board, is that oftentimes people are afraid to make mistakes, and I can't tell you like it is okay to make mistakes, and like now as a student like this is your time to make mistakes because unfortunately like some of the mistakes that even I've made, if I did that in the professional world, like I could potentially like lose my job or whatever. But like I'm learning these lessons now in college, and it is so important that you put your foot in the door and that you go ahead and make your mistakes now and learn from them and not make your mistakes and mope over it and grieve over it, but just like pick your head up and say like, okay, you know what, like I made that mistake, but I'm not going to do it again, and learn and move forward. And really like that's the only way you can strengthen yourself as a journalist and even just a person in general, is just trying. And I mean everyone's going to make mistakes. I've made several mistakes, but I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't tried and made those mistakes. So making mistakes is okay.
That's a great point, and that's something I tell our students each year when they come in is, you know, if you're going to make mistakes, now's the time to make them. Just don't get us sued for libel. You know, like as long as you don't get us sued, if you make some spelling errors and things like that, now's the time to get that out of your system, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all for joining us during your conference. I hope you're learning a lot, and I hope that we've been a help to you as well. And hopefully, if some of you come to JMU, you'd come visit us. You can come visit our student media offices, and you can see what it's like. And then maybe if you come to JMU, feel free to drop in, tell us you saw us during your convention, and we'd be glad to have you on staff. So thanks for joining us, and have a great rest of your convention.